Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to take you through how to make a sourdough starter. This is not how to maintain it or how to make bread. It is just how to capture the wild yeast that live in your house. The reason I'm doing this is I had a friend call me a couple days ago and she didn't have any bread and she didn't have any yeast. So she was like, how do I catch yeast so I can have the ability to make bread for my family? And I thought, this is something people need to know. So I thought I'd make this video on how to catch wild yeast and start a starter. And this is not going to cover how to maintain your starter, how to feed your starter, or how to make the bread. I hope to make another video of that and to make how to make tortillas so that you can have bread without even a leavening. Okay, so to get started, the first thing you're going to need is a glass bowl. And I tell you glass bowl because you want to be able to see what is in from the top and from the side. Now, this was yesterday a clean glass bowl, but I filmed this video yesterday and then the video disappeared. I don't know where it is. All that was left on my computer was a snapshot of me in the middle of the video. So I knew I had to do it again. But it actually works out good because I mixed up the flour and water in this glass bowl. And now I get to tell you or show you what 24 hours of catching yeast looks like. So we'll get back to what it looks like in a minute. So you need your glass bowl. The second thing you need is flour. Now for right now, we're using all-purpose flour. Yes, of course, you can use other flours. You can use gluten-free flours. You can use rye flours, buckwheat. Anything can catch yeast. It just might be a little bit more difficult, but you know, if that's what you have, you can of course attempt it and try it and see what you get. But for the purpose of this video, most people have all-purpose flour or wheat flour or bleached all-purpose flour. Any of those will do very well for starting a starter. So all-purpose flour, and the next thing you're going to need is water. I live in Killeen, Texas, and they put a lot of chemicals in our water. So being that I live in Texas, I can get HEB Texas spring water. This water works great for me. It always produces some, I guess, feeds them well, waters them well, and my yeast colony thrives on it. Can you use tap water? Yes, you can use tap water. However, most tap water has some kind of chemicals in it. So you have to get rid of those chemicals. How do you get rid of those chemicals? You can have it filtered out, but make sure it's a pretty strong filter because you want to get out the chlorine and the fluoride. You want to get that stuff, the stuff that they added, you want to get out. The minerals and calciums and stuff that come in water, you won't because that's going to help your bread. So don't buy distilled water. You know, the distilled water for babies, don't buy that. Get just bottled water. Nothing that's got carbonation added to it or anything like that. And if you can get spring water, that's probably the best thing to do. If you have a well, some wells are great for it. Maybe some aren't. I don't know. I don't have well. So I've got my notes here, so I'm trying to drop down and make sure that I don't leave out any step in this. So glass bowl, flour, water. If you have to use tap water and you don't have a filter, you can put some water in a container and set it on your cabinet. And in 24 hours, I'm sorry, not 24 hours, in 3 days, your chemicals that are most dangerous will be evaporated. This is just kind of an umbrella over that. We can get more in depth into what chemicals come out when, but for a good time period is 3 days, and you can use it. Don't try to use tap water if you live in a city because it will kill your starter. If you don't take the steps that I just told you, you will kill it. When I started doing all my research into sourdough, I had sourdough starters all over the kitchen and in the refrigerator. It was everywhere. And I had a good, healthy starter, and I started feeding it just tap out of this tap. And within 3 days, my starter was dead. Dead, not producing, started getting an off smell. That means everything died in there. So if you use tap water, please use a filter or get it on the counter and set it for 3 days. If it still doesn't work, then you're going to have to get bottled water. Maybe, I don't know what's in your water, so it's going to have to be a trial for you, a test to see what works for you. If you watch YouTube or on starters, or if you get some of the cookbooks, they will tell you that you need pineapple juice, yogurt, or grapes to start a starter, and you do not need it. You can use it. It doesn't hurt anything. In my experience, it didn't create a more strong starter or make it any faster. So you can definitely use it, but you don't have to use it. You can start this starter with just flour and water, and that's what we're going to do. I don't like to give measurements because with sourdough starters, the best thing you can say when someone asks you a question about sourdough or the starter is that depends, because there is no written in stone manual about sourdough because it changes household to household, country to country, county to county. It depends on your water source and the yeast in the air, your flour. It has so many factors that come into it. I can't say do this perfectly like this and it's going to happen. You're going to get see people who measure so many grams and they take out so many grams and they add back so many grams. That's great. That is wonderful if that is how you operate, and I totally understand that. Normally, I'm like that in most recipes, but I have found out that in sourdough, it doesn't matter. At least in my house, it doesn't matter. I just look at it, I watch what I'm doing, and I measure the thickness by how it pops off the spoon. So if you need measurements, then I would say start with a half a cup of water and a half a cup of flour and see where it goes from there. Because remember, all flour is different. It's going to absorb that water differently too. So let's just mix one up to see where we're going. I have, since I used my glass bowl yesterday, I'm going to use this glass measuring cup because the other glass bowls I have are very large and therefore made for the dough rising. And I didn't want a little bit of flour and a little bit of water in that big thing. Okay, so I already have a half a cup of my Texas spring water in here. So I'm going to grab my measuring cup over here. Now, yesterday when I did this, I hit it first off and I was amazed. So let's see if I can do it again today. This is actually a half a cup of flour, and it's not quite full. So let's just dump it in there, and let's mix it up and see where we get. Remember, I'm looking for thickness more than anything else. When you're feeding your starter, you probably want to be really precise with that, maybe a little bit. You get it in that certain round, but with the starter, you can be a little runnier, or maybe not thicker, but a little runnier for sure. So I'm going to mix this up. Now, don't leave any lumps in your sourdough starter. I'm making a mess. Because your sourdough starter, your yeast will not eat a clump of flour. They're microscopic. They're going to eat the water and the things that's in here, but they're not going to eat on a clump of flour. They won't do that. So why am I mixing it so well? Also, not only to get the lumps out, but every living organism needs three things: food, water, and air. So by making sure we get all the lumps out of here, because lumps will sour and get turned nasty also. So you want to make sure they're out of there. This is a little runnier than I normally have it. See how that just runs right off there? That's a little too thin. Trying to catch yeast, it might work, but I'm going to add a little bit more flour and mix it up a little bit more. I'm not going to spend a long time on this because I'm already catching yeast over here. So I would probably take this flour and water, and I've got some, in this right here, some dough rising to make bread. So I'm probably going to just add this to my bread. Okay, so let's look at it now. All right, a little bit thicker. All right, we're going to go with that. So what you're going to do now, because this is your cage, this is your trap. You're going to catch those little yeast that are all in the air. So you're going to leave it on the counter. And all you're going to do is cover it with a dish towel. And why you're covering it with a dish towel is because, honestly, you're going to be peeking at it every time you walk by. And so you might as well just have a dish towel on it and not no plastic. People say, don't put plastic on it because then you can't get yeast in. There's plenty of yeast in there, and they can get through. There's no problem with yeast. If it's in the middle of summer, you want to make sure you cover it because you don't want fruit flies, and it will attract them. So make sure that it is covered then. Right now, it's still chilly outside, so I don't have a problem with them right now. So 3 days, cover this up, set it on the counter, and you're going to check it for sure within 24 hours. If you make it this morning, check it tomorrow morning. But I'm sure you're going to be looking at it a little bit sooner than that. So what are you looking for? You are looking for bubbles. Because when you mix it, you're going to get some bubbles, instant bubbles that rise up. That's not yeast eating. That's just the air that you've whipped into it coming up. So what you're looking for within a few hours of bubble, maybe another bubble. It could take you 10 hours to see a bubble. I can't tell you that go check it in 2 hours, you're going to have bubbles because you're catching yeast. And I don't know if you're going to catch it the first time off. I would suggest to do 2 of these when you do it. And that way, if one doesn't catch it, maybe the other one will. You can even put them in different areas of your house. I know that sounds weird, but it does make a difference. I put mine over in the where my washing room is, my clothes wash machine, that thing, yeah. And I caught yeast within, I would say 8 hours. I had a couple of bubbles, and I knew that I had some yeast in there. So anyway, you're looking for bubbles. And so since I did this yesterday, I'm hoping that this will show and it won't run. There's not enough in here to really see if you got bubbles down here. But if you can see, I've got bubbles. I don't want it to run all over the place. Bubbles. That means something's happening in there. It's got a great taste. Smell. It doesn't smell like it's going off. It doesn't smell rotten. It doesn't smell sour. It doesn't smell anything, actually. Maybe just a little bit of flour. That's all I can smell in it right now. So I've got bubbles, which I'm really excited that my video messed up because now I can show you. So first you do it, you mix it and you set it to the side and you leave it for a day. Now you got bubbles. What do? Well, you're going to feed it. Since I made such a little bit, I'm not going to worry about dumping half of this off. However, it is best to, if you make a little bit more than what I made, to dump some off. It helps the colony. And people are like, well, that's wasteful. Well, it's not really wasteful because you're trying to grow this colony, and you're not going to toss enough off this to make a difference, okay? So since I made so little of this, I'm not going to toss any. Look at that. That's what it looks like today. And I just goofed it all up. Because first thing I like to do is I like to stir it up. And I add water first. I like to add the water first because it breaks up all that sticky mess in there. And it makes sure the water gets all around it. I don't know if that's scientific or not, but that's what I do. So I get it all where it's just a liquid again. Mix it up well. And remember what I'm doing here is I'm adding water too, air also. So I've got water in there, and now I've added air. And the bubbles that I'm seeing now is just because I'm adding air. Okay, so here we go. All right, see how runny that is? Okay, so now I do not need very much flour in this. I'm just feeding what yeast is already in there, hopefully catching a little, making this colony strong. That's what I want right now, strong colony. So we're going to feed it, we're going to get it. And all this stuff on the side where you're seeing this build up on the side here, that's okay. A lot of people get freaked out and they start changing it because they think it's dirty or it's nasty. It's not. You're fine. You're fine. I am kind of like that in a way. I'll let it go for a while, and then I have to clean it out. It just bothers me. But I don't do it every time I mess with my sourdough because that's just be ridiculous. And you're trying to build something. So if you're constantly taking it out of its habitat, throwing it in a new habitat, think about that with any pet, lizards, fish. It's shocking, especially for fish, to take them out of one, put them in another. This is a living creature. Let's let it live in its environment for a little bit. Okay, so I've added enough flour. We got it thick. So this is day 2 of catching yeast. Yes, catching yeast. I'm going to set this over here, and I'm going to show you my starter. Okay, I got a spoon. I put 2 spoons out, and I used them both. Okay, this is Sheila. Sheila, say hi. If you can see, look at Sheila's bubbles. I fed her last night, and she smells so good. And I'm going to tip it over so you can see what she looks like on top. Now, as she pulls apart, look at the strings that's happening. See that? See all that? That's good stuff. This is a healthy starter. And so since I told you how to start a starter, now we're waiting. This is Sheila, mine, and it is time for her to eat. So we're going to feed her right here. She's getting more than what I need, but I'm going to bake some in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get her. Remember I said throw half away? Because Sheila is the mother. I never do anything with Sheila but feed water and then take out half of her goodness, okay? So Sheila is just protected in her little environment. So now I'm going to take out half of it because I plan on using that in a little bit. So now I've got my Sheila half out. I'm going to add more water. Remember why I add water? Well, they need it to live, but it also gives me an opportunity to thin it out really well and get some air in there. I'm going to put it right here because I think I'm going to slop everywhere. I'm usually not this messy, but I think I'm trying to do it fast. Okay. How runny she is. Okay. Now, Sheila, for me, likes a certain thickness. So I really don't measure anything for mine. If you find that you are better at taking out 2 grams of starter and adding a gram of water and a gram of flour, or however you want to do it, there is a ton of videos out there. You can watch them and develop yours. So I want to make sure that I stir her well, because why? No flour lumps. That'd be bad on Sheila. Oh my God. Okay. So this is perfect. I always say, when people say, how thick should your starter be? I always say between a very thick gravy and toothpaste, and not so much on the toothpaste side. So I'm going to give you a range. But there are some people who have their starter really thick like that, and it's in a little ball. That's totally acceptable too. As a matter of fact, that's very medievalish. Okay, so let me show you what Sheila looks like after I've fed and watered her. Look at that. Not quite toothpaste-y, but she likes it thick. And there is a scientific thing about the science behind thin or thick. Thin gives you maybe, I don't remember which way it is. One gives you more lactate and one gives you more acid, I think. So thicker or thinner, I think, is more sour, and thicker is not. I don't know. I have it written in my notes for the class that I teach, but I can't remember which way it goes right now. So you have been with me long enough to feed Sheila. So let's recap on this. Oh, let me talk this. Now I've got this starter that is, sorry, that is now 24 hours old. Can I make bread with it? I wouldn't recommend it. It's not strong. You don't expect a newborn baby to get up and walk when you get it home. You have to take care of it. You have to feed it, water it, encourage it, and it'll get there eventually. Now, in a few days, can you make bread? Yeah, you can make bread. It might not be as fluffy and as good. The crumb might not be as good. It might not rise as much because your colony is still young. But you will have bread. So, yes, you can cook with it. Just don't expect it to be what you get after 2 months of babying your starter. And that's about the recommendation, is about 2 months of feeding regularly after you get it started. Because now this one that I started yesterday, I've caught yeast. So this is no longer just where I'm trying to catch it. I've got yeast. Now I've got to maintain it. I got to keep that yeast alive. So this is now a starter. This is my trap. This is not a starter yet. If I was to put this in flour, I'm just adding flour and water to some more flour and water. So this is the trap. That's already within 24 hours a starter that you still need to baby and keep going, but a starter, you've got one. So I showed you Sheila. Let me see, what else did I want to make sure I know? Okay, if you've got your starter, with the condition of what's going on in the world right now, who knows where you'll be. If you have to go somewhere and pick up a family member or something, you might be gone for an extended time. And once you have your starter started, and let's say you leave it on the counter and you go and you come back, you might find a liquid on top. It might be, it's clear with a blackish or brownish tint to it, and it'll smell a little sour because it's vinegar. It is byproduct of the yeast and the bacteria that are eating in your starter. It's called pooch, and it's not bad. Your starter is not dead. It's just a byproduct. If you can just mix it back into your starter and then feed your starter and water your starter again. I pour it off because I don't like sour bread. I like just a regular old piece of white bread. It's my favorite. So I just pour it off and then feed it. And yes, it's happened to me. So if you see that, it's not bad. If you come back and you don't see that, but your starter smells really sour, you're okay. Take half of it off, throw it away, and start feeding and watering it. I think I want to say it's called washing it because it's got, it needs help. You need to bring it back to life. You need to feed it. And then, so you're washing it, so you're definitely throwing half of that away and not baking with that one. So it's not dead. I've had people tell me before, I had to throw my starter away because it smelled so sour. It's like, no, don't start over because a starter that is a few years old, like Sheila, that girl's healthy and she's strong and she's going to make that bread rise like crazy. But when you have to start over, you have to give that baby starter time to get strong. So don't throw it away. You've got a colony started in there. It might be weak and you have to bring it back to health, but don't throw it away. Let me see. What else do I want to cover? Is there anything else on my notes? No. So if you and tomorrow, if you don't find bubbles in your trap, then you got two things you could do. You could throw it away and start all over. I wouldn't, but you could. But you could also just do what we did, add a little bit more water and flour to it, whip it up again, and put it somewhere. If you didn't catch anything over here in the kitchen, then maybe put it in your dining room or something. Put it somewhere else and give it a try. Who knows what it's going to do? I can't really say. I had somebody that took a little bit of Sheila. She took two of Sheila, and one for her, one for her husband. One in the same house from the same starter. One went crazy and really made some bubbles and grew. And the other one was just slow. And it wasn't dead. It was just slow. Same household. So I don't know what to tell you. So if you're not catching yeast, move it around, feed and water it, keep an eye on it. Remember, my trap, when I pulled it out today, didn't smell like anything, okay? So remember that if it starts to smell off, nasty, rotten, just get rid of it and start it again. If anything's growing on it other than hooch, get rid of it. Anyway, so before I go, because I've talked to you about the starter and how to start it, remember, that smells good. We're only catching the wild yeast, and I'll help you along with the starter in another video. But I'm going to bake bread today, and I wanted to show you, well, I'm not going to bake it today. I'm working on the process of sourdough bread. So last night I took my starter, water, and flour, and I mixed up this. Look at that. That's all that's in here right now. So what I will do today is I love adding honey to my bread. So I'll put some honey in there, and I will probably add a little bit more flour. What this does, I've given this time in here for that flour to just get really saturated. There's no dry flour in here, and this is just a wonderful little thing. But I'm gonna now make a dough out of this, and now that dough is going to rise probably all day today. I might be able to bake it off tonight. If I put it in the refrigerator so it slowly goes, I'll be able to bake it tomorrow morning. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I actually thought about making buns. So anyway, I just want to show you that, I got my starter. This is from Sheila. This is what I got from Sheila. I put a little bit of her in there with some water. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover with how to catch wild yeast. If you have any questions, drop them down below, and I will do my best to answer them. Remember, I am not an expert by any means. My research stems from the history of it, the medieval use of sourdough, and that's why I study it. So that's why I started studying it. Was before that, so I could have a more period type bread at our feast. So anyway, any questions, drop them below. I'm right at 25 minutes. I think that's long enough. Goodbye, y'all. Stay healthy.